welcome to this week's episode. I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help everybody out there in the aviation world sell more products and services.
Absolutely. And it's been a while since I've done one of these with John, so kind of nice to be back together again doing podcasts.
Uh-huh.
John's been working on some things with some clients and things like that, so.
Yep.
And working on our studio downstairs, which is a whole nother story. So in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about aviation consulting and how to get booked. Booked.
As in book 'em down?
As in filling your calendar with bookings, because
okay.
that actually is a direct ratio to the amount of income you're going to make, is how many appointments do you have.
I see.
Right. So, okay, so that being said, you need to fill your calendar. And in aviation in particular, I think we all work with complex, high-ticket, high-risk, high-value products and services, and that don't just sell themselves, or you don't just put a nickel in a vending machine and get one of these things, right?
You typically try to sell them to high net worth people.
Right, and in a lot of cases, it is more than one person that you're selling to, in which case there is typically several consultations that take place before a sale happens.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have been doing this long enough, you can see from your calendar how busy you are on your calendar, how much money you're going to be making 6 months from now or 8 months from now or whatever your sales cycle is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So if your calendar is looking a little empty, that's a problem, right?
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So we're going to talk about why this happens. If you're offering a free consultation and nobody's taking you up on it, it could be because these people have ruined it for you, right?
Exactly.
What do you think of when you hear the word free consultation, John?
Pitch fest.
Pitch fest. A sales pitch. If you've ever been to a sales presentation for a timeshare or for anything, really, I guess timeshares are probably the worst example that is going on today, where you have a free consultation and it is nothing but a high energy, high intensity, high pressure pitch fest.
And if you say no too many times, you're escorted out the back door
right.
onto a dirty old bus. That's it, on your way.
Exactly. We did this once. We thought, oh, sure, we can go to a 1-hour presentation, for an extra, show tickets or whatever it was that they offered in Vegas. And so this one was, not to mention any names, but I think it was the Tahitian Village. And actually they were very, very good. The salespeople were excellent, but the presentation was pretty high energy and pretty intense. And, after we'd said no about 4 times, they escorted us onto this
seriously,
horrible,
out the back door.
Out the back door into this horrible little bus with the other losers who didn't take advantage of the opportunity to be returned to our hotel in ignoble whatever.
Well, I don't tolerate pushy salespeople to start with.
That is true. And he did not behave completely admirably in this circumstance, but it was great. It was actually a lot of fun. And we did learn something about sales, so that was the other reason that I wanted to do it, was because I wanted to see how other people in other types of sales work. And we got to go to David Copperfield.
That's right. Did they give us that?
They did. They gave us tickets to David Copperfield. So was it worth it? Kind of. But anyway, so they have to give huge incentives to get people to go to these consultations. And the problem is that they have ruined the word. Free and consultation. Yeah. They've actually ruined the phrase free consultation.
Yes.
For the rest of us who actually do give free consultations.
That's right.
Okay. So we have to work harder because of those people, which we don't appreciate. So here's how you work harder to earn those free consultations. And it's really crazy that you think, you have to work so hard to sell something that you're giving away for free, and you're giving people valuable information. But they're not going to see it that way unless you explain it very carefully, right?
Exactly.
And the way that you explain it very carefully is using what we call the 4 U's. And if you've taken copywriting classes or anything like that, you know what the 4 U's are, but we're going to talk about them in context of a free consultation today.
Yes.
Okay. So the first of the 4 U's is useful. See, I learned how to do this. I went to the University of Utah. So they do this all the time.
Great.
All right. So the information that you're going to give in your free consultation is probably very, very useful to the right person. But you need to give some examples and you need to give some specifics of how that's going to be useful to them. So you're going to walk out of this consultation with 3 good ideas that you can implement within the next 3 months without spending any more money, if you choose to do that. So if I say that to someone, then that makes them think, okay, well, this is not going to be just selling me something. I'm actually going to get some information I can use regardless of the decision that I make, whether I'm going to buy marketing services from ABCI or whether I'm not going to buy marketing services from ABCI. Either way, they're going to leave with good ideas that they can actually implement, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So that's useful. And I'm sure that the information that you're providing is useful, but you need to explain to people ahead of time how it's useful and, make sure that you make those promises and that you keep those promises, right?
You got to make sure and keep them.
Absolutely.
And during the whole process, if they actually start listening to you, you got about 7 to 15 seconds to keep them interested.
Exactly. Well, the first thing you do is you get them to come to a consultation, and you have to do that with a sales process, either with a phone call or a postcard or whatever. And these are the things that you're going to communicate.
However, when you start talking during this free consultation, you're selling the next 15 seconds every 15 seconds.
That is true. Right. Which is to say, this is after they have already agreed to the consultation, because it's probably going to be on Zoom, and so they're going to be multitasking unless you really do keep their attention. Another way that you can make it more useful is to provide some kind of a report that they can share with their colleagues, something that they can't get on their own. You can provide a checklist. You can provide the video of the consultation. We provide a video after the fact in case they want to share it with a colleague or whatever. So, you want to make that entire consultation process as useful as possible.
Of course.
Okay. All right. Unique. If everybody on the planet is offering the same kind of free consultation, they're not going to go for yours.
Nope.
Right? Especially if they can get that information on the web from somewhere else without coming to you and committing time and subjecting themselves to a sales pitch, it's what they think they're going to do. If they can get that information from anywhere else on the planet, they will. So you need to make sure that the information that you're giving them includes your specific expertise and your specific specialty. That does 2 things. It makes sure that these people are ideal customers for you long term, because if you are a guy that specializes in tax laws in Florida, having to do with aircraft that are mid-size cabin or larger, and that's what your consultation is about, then only the people who are ideal customers for you are going to book your consultations.
Exactly.
So make sure that your consultation is unique and it's not something that anyone else is offering or that they can get on YouTube or somewhere else on the planet, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And also unique to that customer. So, you may want to send a questionnaire ahead of time asking them questions so that you can tailor that so that it's unique to them and unique to your specialty as well. So there's a couple ways that you can make it unique. Ultra specific. This is kind of a cheat on the U, because specific doesn't start with a U. But it's so much easier to think of the 4 U's than the 3 U's and an S, right? Okay. So ultra specific. How is this information? This kind of falls in the same lines as unique, but what this is you want it to be so targeted to this particular individual. You don't want to say 5 ways to save money on your taxes if you're an aviation consultant.
Or you don't sell me a Falcon 900, I'm looking at a 2000.
Exactly. You can make this more specific by using that questionnaire that you send ahead of time, so that you are specifically looking up answers to their questions, and things that are going to be super relevant and super specific to them.
Of course.
Yeah. This is not the 1980s when everything was one size fits all, and this is way beyond Burger King, where you have to be special requests are our specialty kind of thing. Yeah. So in this case, you're actually having to take it a step beyond that and say, because of your specific situation, here are things that you may not know that you need to know.
Or you may not have considered. If you're selling airplanes, you may not have considered this when you're looking at this particular airplane based on your mission profile.
Exactly. And this applies for brokers, insurance people, consultants of all types, and so on. So being ultra specific is very, very important. And urgent. Being urgent is very important because...
it doesn't say urgent.
I'm going to fix the slides later. Now you just made me edit more. Like I've got time for that. Okay, so urgent is important because otherwise they can just do this later, right?
Of course.
And if you can just do this later, why would you do it now when you've got 5 million things on your plate that are urgent?
Right.
You're never going to get around to the things that are important but not urgent. So if you can provide some reason, especially some external reason, like the FAA is changing the rules on something, or the tax year is coming to an end, or the COVID situation has caused you to have to do something different to comply with regulations.
Speaking of the FAA changing things.
Yes.
The last thing you should do before getting into the presentation is to double check the FAR.
Yeah.
Because I get new downloads almost every other day on the FAR, the AIM. That's just crazy.
Right.
Most probably won't apply to you, but you need to know.
Right. So you can look up those rule changes. You can look up news having to do with your specialty. Sometimes that creates urgency, where people are going to have to make a change to the way that they do things and things like that. So urgent is the fourth and probably the most important of the U's.
Likely.
Yeah. Well, I'd say useful is probably the most important. And then urgent maybe second. And then unique.
Specificity.
And then ultra specific. Yeah. Or nice to have, but not absolutely necessary. But if you can make it, not everybody can do all 4 of these, but the more you can do, the better. And I would say if you can do useful and urgent, you're great, And then ultra specific and unique are nice. Cool. Sound good? We have a worksheet for how to make your consultation better. And this takes a pretty standard free consultation that everybody is offering on the web to, through a bunch of steps to make it a more specific, useful, urgent, and unique presentation. And then you can give it a title. If you can give your consultations a title, then that makes it even better because it becomes a product, whether you're selling it for money or just selling it as part of your sales process. You always have to sell the next link in the chain, right? So you actually have to sell this as a product, even if it is free, because it is the way that you get from here to there, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So anyway, questions, comments, anything else about how to do a better sales consultation? This is what we did with our group in October. And in our group, you may be curious to know, we actually have made some changes to the way that works. We have office hours and we have project hours, right?
Really?
Yeah. So the office hours are when you get to sit down with John or I or both of us and work through strategy, problems, priorities, whatever it is that you're working on, and then say, here's what went well last month, here's what we need to do this month. We set up the situation. What project hours are is then you decide you want to delegate some of those items on your plate to marketing people. Here you have them. And, so you can use those project hours to have us perhaps revise your consultation process and put together some reports and materials and things like that and advertisements for your consultation process. And that's something that we could do during project hours. So if you haven't looked at our services page on our website recently, you might want to swing by there and take a look and see if that is something that fits your business model right now. If you would like to have some help with your marketing strategy and or marketing items that you could delegate, such as improving your consultation process, we'd be happy to do that for you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So
go sell more stuff.
Go sell more stuff. The industry needs the business.
Yes, they do.
Yes, and consultations are a really great way to get more business and to improve the industry in general, because the more educated your customers are, the better off everyone is in the industry. And the better your company does, the better we do, because, it's a very small community and we all thrive when the industry thrives. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Stay safe and healthy.